Hello. So we are continuing on with our work converting units of time, and today we're going to look at how we use division. But here's our starter. Before we start our main lesson, this is going to be very useful. Let's remember this word multiples. We have been learning about that during homeschool. Multiples of 7. What does that mean? Well, multiples of 7 are numbers that are on the 7 times table. And I've written some numbers here: 30, 15, 24, 36 and 52. None of those numbers are multiples of 7. But your job for this starter is for you to think in each of these yellow boxes which we've got to write in the multiple of 7 which is closest to this number on the left but below it. So for example, here I've written 30, that's the number. I've got to write in the multiple of 7 which is the closest multiple of 7 to 30 but which is below 30. So look, I've written 28 because here, counting up in our multiples of 7, well, I could start 0, no, 7, I can still go higher, 14, I can go higher, 21, remember I'm trying to get to 30, okay, 28, I've got to stop on 4 times 7 makes 28, it's 4 times 7, if I say the next one, 5 times 7, 35, it's too high. So I'm trying to find the nearest multiple which is still below the number. Pause the video, have a go. I hope you did pause the video and I hope you did have a go. So what's the closest multiple of 7 which is less than 15? It's 14. It's 2 times 7. What's the closest multiple of 7 below 24? It's 21. 3 times 7. 36. Well, the closest multiple of 7 is 35. 5 times 7. The closest multiple of 7, which is below 52, is 49. 7 times 7. Now, we're going to need that skill, that knowledge of our 7 times table and our multiples of 7 in today's lesson. Let's just remind ourselves. So 1 week, do we remember? 1 week is 7 days. And I remember that we had a bar model last time, and the bar model showed us why we can use multiplication to turn weeks into days. So 1 week, here, 1 week is 7 days. It's one lot of 7 days. If we get 2 weeks, well, it's 7 here in the first week, 7 in the next week, it's 2 7s, so it's 2 times 7 is 14. 14 days. 2 weeks, 14 days. If we have 3 weeks, what multiplication will tell us how many days is 3 weeks? Well, 1 week, 2 weeks, I've got to include 3 of the bars now. It's 3 times 7 is 21 days. If I want 4 weeks, well, 1 7, another week of 7, 3 weeks of 7, 4 weeks of 7, 4 groups of 7, 4 times 7 is 28 days. So, do you remember? We were looking at using multiplication last week, but I want us to remember that, of course, we can also use inverse operations. And I've tried to show it like this. If we start with 3 weeks, 3 weeks, when I want to turn it into 21 days, I'm going to times by 7, aren't I? 3 groups of 7 days is 21 days. But today we're going the other way. So we're not doing 3 times 7 is 21. Today we're going to start with 21 days and we're going to go the other way. So not 3 times 7, but 21 divided by 7. Not times by 7, but 21 divided by 7. How many groups of 7 are there in 21 days? So 21 days divided by 7 makes 3 weeks. Because we're really saying 21 days, how many weeks of 7 days in each week? And it is 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Can you see? This is what we call inverse operations. So not multiplying, but dividing by 7. So, pause the video. Can you have a go? Can you fill in all of the blanks here? What would the blanks be? Pause the video. Well, let's see. Do you remember? 5 weeks. When I want to turn it into how many days, I'm going to do 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 7 is 35 days. When I with 35 days and I'm going turning it to weeks, I'm not timesing by 7, I'm putting it into groups with 7 in each group. So it's the inverse of multiplication. 35 divided by 7. How many 7s in 35? 5 weeks. Using the inverse operations. The operation undoes or does the opposite. Okay, have a go at this one. Pause the video. You have a go. Do you see how it works? Well, 6 weeks, when we want to turn it into days, we do times 7. When we want to turn the days and turn that back into weeks, we're not doing times 7, not multiplied by 7, but divide by 7. So 6 weeks, how many days? 6 times 7 is 42 days. But 42 days, 42 divided by 7 equals 6. How many groups of 7 days are there in 42 days? 6 groups of 7, which is 6 weeks. But what if the number of days is not a multiple of 7? What if we want to know 15 days is how many weeks and how many days? It won't be an exact number of weeks because 15 is not a multiple of 7. So it's going to be however many weeks and then some days. And this is where we need to remember our learning about dividing with a remainder. So, just reminding ourselves here, if we want to turn 15 days into how many weeks and how many days, well, I've put 15 bubbles up, and each of the bubbles is 1 day. So I've got to say, how many weeks? Well, how many days in 1 week? 7. So I'm going to put them into groups of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's 1 week. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm making another group of 7, so that's now another 1 week. Oh, I can't make another week, can I? I don't have 7 days, just 1. So 1 week more. Okay, so it's 2 weeks and 1 day. 15 days is 2 weeks and 1 day. So we need to see how many groups of 7 there are and how many left over. 2 groups of 7. 2 weeks and 1 day. If we had seen it on a number line, which we could have done, we've got to imagine now, perhaps we could use a double-headed number line. So look, these numbers are the weeks. No weeks, 0. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. On the bottom of the number line, it's how many days? Well, 1 week is 7 days. You remember, 1 times 7 makes 7. But the other way round is 7, yes, the inverse, 7 divided by 7 is 1. Let's think here. This 4 means, remember, 4 weeks. 4 times 7 makes 28 days. 28 days divided by 7, the inverse, makes 4 weeks. So, where would 15 days be with our problem here? Where would we put 15 days? Well, 15 is between 14 and 21, isn't it? 15, maybe we could say 15's about here. So, what we're really using this number line is to say, like for our starter, 15 days. How many jumps of 7 was it? Well, 1 jump of 7, 2 jumps of 7. That means it's 2 weeks. But there's still one more day because we only got up to 14. 1 more makes 15. 2 weeks and 1 day. We're counting up in 7s and stopping when we get to the multiple of 7, which is just below the total number of days. We might use one of these whole models. 15 days, we count up in our 7s. Well, the first multiple of 7 that we can use here, 0. No, I can count higher. 7, 14, okay. So 14 is the closest I can get to 15 because the next one would be 21. And what I do is I say split my 15 days into 14 days and 1 day. And then we can say the 14 days is 2 weeks because it's 14 divided by 7 equals 2. And then 1 day, this is 1 day left over. So it's 2 weeks and 1 day. Okay. So have a go. Which of those ways works best for you? 24 days is our problem. How many weeks is that? And how many days? You have a go. Well, I hope you did have a go. We can think like the other ones. We can put them into groups of 7, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 1, 2, 3 left over. So that's 3 weeks, which is 3 groups of 7, 3 whole weeks, and how many days left over? 1, 2, 3. 3 weeks and 3 days. 24 days, 3 weeks and 3 days. If we'd thought about it, imagining a number line in our head, or maybe even writing a double-headed number line, that can be a good idea. Well, 24 days, where would we put 24 on this number line? Well, that's more than 21, less than 28, so we'll put it between 21 and 28, and that helps us to see that it's 3 groups of 7, 3 weeks, and then from 21 we say 22, 23, 24. 3 days. 3 weeks, and then 1, 2, 3 days. Okay. We are really counting to find the closest multiple of 7, using that, dividing that by 7, and seeing how many days are left over. Let's try something similar with months to years. It's the same idea, isn't it? Only here, 1 year is 12 months. So when we are going from years to months, 1 year is 1 lot of 12. 2 years is 2 times 12. 1 lot of 12. And 2 years, 2 lots of 12. 2 times 12 is 24. 3 years, 3 times 12 is 36 months. 4 years, 4 times 12 is 48 months. And what we're really, of course, trying to use and think about today is that inverse operations. We're going to remember that when we turn the years into months, we've got to times by 12. When we turn 60 months into years, 60 not times by 12, but the inverse operation, divide by 12. So 5 years, we're doing 5 times 12, 60 months. 60 divided by 12, 60 months divided by 12, that shows us that it is 5 years. Okay. Ooh, what about this one? 30 months is how many years and how many months? I'm going to try and use the number line first, I think. What have I got to count up in this number line? Well, we've got years at the top and months at the bottom. And I'm thinking about the number 30, or the amount 30 months. Well, it's more than 12. It's more than 24. It's more than 24. It's less than 36. So, let's put 30 months about here. So how many years is that? Well, 1 year is 12 months, 2 years, 24. So it's more than 2 years, less than 3 years. So it's 2 years, and when we're on 24, we've got to say 24. Add how many? Yeah, 24 months. And how many more months will make the 30 months we're talking about? 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I've got 30 months here. Let's put them into a group of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 1 year. 2 years. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can see it here. 2 years. Each group of 12 is 1 year. Okay. Alright. I hope we're getting the idea. It's the same thing. We've got to divide by 12 and say the remainder when we are turning months into years. What about hours to days? Well, remember now, 1 day is 24 hours. 2 days is 24 hours is 48 hours. 3 days is 3 times 24 hours is 72 hours. 4 days is 4 times 24 hours, 96 hours. So, as we've been talking about, inverse operations. Can you see what we'll need to fill in the blanks here? Yes, 24. 2 days. We want to turn it into hours. It's times 24. We start with 48 hours. We need to divide it by 24. That means counting up in 24s. 124, add another 24 is 48, 2. So 2 times 24, 48 hours. 48 hours. 48 hours divided by 24 makes 2 days. And when we get to bigger numbers, I don't want to have to draw 80 circles. Now I think I definitely just want to be counting up in my 24s. So I've written my number line here, 24. That's 1 day, isn't it? Oh, sorry, I must change this. See, this is the days, and this is the hours now, isn't it? So 1 day, 24 hours. 2 days, another 24, 48. 3 days, another 24, 72. 4 days, another 24, 96. So where will 80 hours go here? Wow, where would 80 go on this number line? Well, it's more than 72, less than 96, so 80 will go around, maybe around here. So it's 1, 2, 3 days. Yes, here I'm going to draw my part-whole model, which is really useful when we get these bigger numbers. 80 days altogether. The nearest multiple of 24 is 72. But 72 add how many makes 80? Well, this other part must make the whole. 72 add what makes 80? 72 add what makes 80? Well, 72 add 8. Okay, so 72 hours is 3 days and 8 hours. So we will need to divide in these lessons and think about the remainder. So have a really good go at it. For your work, the first ones do not need a remainder. No remainder on level 1. Level 2, we've not an exact multiple, so there will be some days or some hours or some months left over, and then we've got some problems for level 3. Okay, well done everyone, give it a good go. Bye!